What is up? I'm John, and typically we have kind of combined the golf and the 3-and-out content. We have separated. So we created a new YouTube page to put, I'm going to start playing golf, ideally more on camera, especially in 2026. Do maybe some live interviews. I live in Arizona. Obviously, we got a lot of tour players, a lot of people in the golfing world right in my backyard. So we're going to try to do some more golf content as well as all the podcasts we do. We're going to put up on here. So what I need you to do is subscribe to the page. We're going to have a lot of content moving forward here. Today we're talking about the Ryder Cup. I recorded this a couple days before the event. I'm there on Friday. So if you're watching me on Thursday, I'm on a bird flying to the concrete jungle known as New York City. Going on Friday. Very, very excited. So unique event, only comes here once every 4 years, obviously with Keegan Bradley. Brandel, I have some thoughts on Brandel, throwing some gasoline on the fire, and there's no disputing, as Shooter McGavin said on Twitter, no one hates Bryson like Brandel does, and it feels at this point in time like, and listen, I got my own, I don't even want to, enemies the wrong words, but my own people that I consistently have an issue with. I don't quite understand this one at this point in time. Bryson's going nowhere, but Brandel, doubles down at every turn. So obviously that's a huge story. And Keegan, the captain, and just my overall thoughts heading in. You watch some of these press conferences, Russell Henley and definitely JJ Spawn, like, yeah, this is kind of crazy. Never thought I'd be here. This is kind of intimidating. You're like, whoa. So that you get that. We'll talk about the gambling aspect, but again, all the golf content here on the GoLow page. Make sure you subscribe. Like, interact, share with your friends, and a lot more to come. We're just at the beginning here, so let's dive into some Ryder Cup thoughts. Okay, let's dive into the Ryder Cup because starts Friday. Your boy will be there. New York, Bethpage Black, which is a major venue. Brooks Koepka won the PGA Championship, I think in 2019, when he was on his streak of winning U.S. Opens and PGAs and the hottest golfer, number one player in the world. Long golf course and led by Keegan Bradley, who obviously should have been on the team, but chose not to pick himself. Very, very excited. I was thinking about it today. I haven't been to New York City or just the general area since probably 2012 when I went to Hoboken with some buddies from the Eagles for St. Patty's Day. I know they say the kids and the youth, I was probably 25 then, 26, drink a lot of green juice. We definitely were not drinking it then. I mean, I remember my phone died and I got separated from the group. I clearly do not really know the area. And I remember sleeping on a couch. Somehow I got into like a high-rise, nice complex kind of area. Inside, the bellman let me in, and I was sleeping there. My phone's dead, had no communication. Then one of the dudes that had like a penthouse there came home with his wife and let me crash on his couch. Different times. It was able to charge my phone, meet up with them the next day, and somehow survive that. But Hoboken, cool place, especially St. Patty's Day. This thing is going to be nuts. Right. The Americans are heavy favorites at minus 145. I was checking Hard Rock Bet earlier today. You could get the Euros at plus 150. I'm not betting on this simply because I wouldn't take the Americans at minus 145. I know historically they've been very good at home. They haven't lost on home soil, I think, since 2012. But to me, the Euros, in terms of their entire crew, it's a better team, top to bottom. Now, I think the cool part about this event is we have transitioned. The irony is like Tiger was, in my opinion, the greatest player of all time. Kind of a weird fit back in the day on the Ryder Cups, especially in his heyday, right? He was so individually driven and wired to then put him in this environment. He was so much more famous than everyone. Obviously, his connection with the other players, especially the younger crew, it just was always a weird fit. Phil, much more team-oriented, but those two guys just felt like in a different stratosphere. We're the crew now, and we've transitioned from those guys to what we have now. Same thing with the Euros. The Euros always had, from Ian Poulter to Sergio Garcia. Obviously, Rose has played on a bunch. Lee Westwood. Like, they had this consistent group. It just always felt like they fit a little bit better. And I would say this for both teams. Like, the Euros got a good vibe going, right? Brandel Chamblee's not on TV going, that Rory hates Rahm and Hatton hates Fleetwood. No, it's like they're all just boys. Even though a couple of their top players went to another, no one cares, right? With us, it's just kind of a weird mix, right? Now, I think our greatest strength is the best player in the world, pretty low-key dude. And unlike Tiger and Phil, feels, while on the golf course, it doesn't feel this way because he's so much better than everyone else. They just had a tournament in Napa a week ago at Silverado. Pretty nice course. It's okay. But, all the guys got together except Xander because he just had a baby and Bryson because they wouldn't let him play, which to me was stupid. But he came out there. And they basically had a team bonding event, which was healthy because, Ben Griffin ended up missing a relatively short, I think 5 feet birdie putt on 18 that would have put him in extra holes with Scottie. But JJ Spawn played well. Our guys showed good signs of life, where typically they don't play till after the Tour Championship until the Ryder Cup. They put an emphasis on that. That's cool. It's kind of like a pseudo, we'll play some golf, we'll team bond, we'll bring our wives out, little vacation in Napa Valley, which I'm actually going in a week and a half for a buddy's birthday party. It's a beautiful place. There's no disputing that it's probably the nicest area in Northern California beside Lake Tahoe. But, the thing with Scottie, for being by far the best player, he does feel like one of the crew. And that's the thing that the Euros have. It's like Rory, Fleetwood, Lowry, Rose, Rahm, Hatton. It feels like they all just kind of fit together pretty well. Our group can be a little weird, Even Koepka has said in the past, right? It's like it's hard to play this team operation when you're so used to this cycle of getting yourself ready, and that's all that matters. You're not worried about anyone else. And then, two of the events, right? If you play 4-ball and best ball, 4-ball and best ball, it's like sharing a ball with another guy. It's just, which is cool. Like, I'm all for the match play element of hitting every other shot. I enjoy that. But I do get where these guys are coming from. That's not really what they do on a weekly basis. So it's an outlier situation. Today's show is brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. Week 4 kicks off tonight with a divisional battle between Seattle and Arizona. I want you to check out these streaks from Hard Rock Bet Stats Hub. Do you know that the Seahawks, they've won 7 in a row against the Cards? That goes back to 2021. They've also won 7 in a row, just road games. So they're playing really well on the road. I typically like the home team on these short weeks, but I love Seattle -1.5 Thursday Night Football. I also like Sam Darnold, might be my favorite bet of the night, over 1.5 touchdowns. You get that in the plus money. And the Cardinals secondary is beat up, and I think they're in major trouble. If you haven't tried your first bet on Hard Rock Bet, there's still time for you to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Just place a $5 bet, and if it hits, you not only get your winnings, but you also get $150 in bonus bets. Plus, tonight on Hard Rock Bet, you can get a Thursday night parlay boost for the game. Boost your same game parlay or SGP max so your bet pays extra winnings. What I'm most excited about, and I give this guy a lot of credit, and I have a lot of respect for Keegan Bradley, because he's talked about for a decade how much this event means to him and all his goals and aspirations, beside winning the Masters or the U.S. Open, is to be on the Ryder Cup. And since 2012, he's never unpacked his bag, right? That was a huge story 2 years ago when it felt like he kind of got shunned for guys that Zach Johnson picked over him that probably weren't as worthy. And then he's given the captaincy, which also I give, the PGA of America, just the Americans' mindset, a little credit. Think outside the box. Stop just naming Jim Furyk, Zach Johnson, who wants it next, Steve Strickland. You can just go down the line. Let's mix it up a little bit, and you give this guy the opportunity to do it. He obviously is ecstatic and says yes, and then he plays some of the best golf, if not the best golf, start to finish of his life. And clearly, if, let's just say, Phil Mickelson was the Americans' captain, Keegan Bradley would be on this team. I don't think anyone not named Keegan Bradley, if they were the captain of this team, from Tiger to Phil to you name it, Keegan Bradley's on this team as a player. But my theory why he didn't pick himself, and obviously I remember watching the press conference when I was in Hawaii, and it was pretty like it was fireworks because you just assumed he was going to pick himself, and then he's going through like, God, he's got one spot left. And I think it was made a little easier with how well Cam Young and Sam Burns played at the Tour Championship. But I also think that watching Monday Night Football last night, for example, Dan Campbell played in the NFL for a long time. And if Dan Campbell had never got into coaching after he was done playing, and let's just say he went into real estate or farming or whatever, it feels like he would be like a roping cattle or something. But all the people that knew Dan Campbell would be like, oh, that's my buddy that played for the Dolphins and the Cowboys and the Giants. Like that's my buddy that played at Texas A&M and played in the NFL for a long time. And he would be hugely famous in his group of friends. And listen, he had a successful career, but most casual fans would not be able to point out Dan Campbell out of a lineup as a player. Now, Keegan's not that. Keegan has won a major championship, has played on Ryder Cups, is just a much more famous individual in his sport than Dan was in his sport as a player. But think how famous Dan Campbell is now as a coach. Like, there's no one that watches football that doesn't know who Dan Campbell is. My wife talks about him all the time because that story that went viral of him eating Talante, the ice cream, like 3 jugs. Now, Talante's not jugs, but 3 basically individual helpings of Talante every night, which seems a little ridiculous. But like Dan's just become a key famous individual in the sport of football. And Keegan Bradley is a lover of sports, Boston sports. So for 20 plus years, he had a front row seat on seeing, like, obviously Tom was the most famous Patriot. Who do you think the second most famous was? It was the coach, Bill Belichick. Keegan Bradley loves the Celtics. Doc Rivers, right? I mean, pretty famous dude. The Red Sox, Terry Francona, kind of matters in the landscape of the sport. So I do wonder that a lot of these golfers that maybe aren't huge sports fans, this would have been a much more difficult situation. But I wonder if Keegan, who I'm sure in his free time just watches a lot of sports, he's just a junkie like most of us, saw the value. And like, there's a huge power in being the guy named, I was the winning captain, which essentially is the coach for the squad in 2025. And more than likely, I would be stunned if this goes well. He's not the captain on the next team. Now, maybe he like recuses himself because he wants to play on it. But I do wonder if it would give him a fire and a high. Like, I bet if you asked Dan Campbell, what was more fun as a human being? You're 50 years old. Was it blocking a defensive end at when you played tight end for Bill Parcells on like an outside run and scoring a touchdown and meeting that running back in the end zone? Or was it bringing a team into Baltimore and kicking the living piss out of the Ravens? And that jubilation in the locker room when it wasn't just you and it wasn't just the other 11 guys, it was 53 guys. It was all your coaches. There's no question in my mind he would say coaching the team and the impact that it has on way more people, right, that are directly impacted by him. Like, Keegan got to pick this team. Keegan got to pick these captains. And while it sucks from a player standpoint because he's playing at such a high level, I do think it's really cool that he did what we all thought he wouldn't do. And maybe, and he kind of alluded to this when he gave his press conference several weeks ago, that like I had kind of known for a couple weeks, and it was obviously made easier when the Tour Championship played out Saturday and Sunday of that weekend when some of his guys really shined. And had been, I mean, Cam Young and Sam Burns had been playing well down the stretch. But I think there's a power in being the leader, in being the guy that everyone looks to, than just being one of the members of the team that were, you know, you're going to be like Bryson, Scottie, the names on the Xander, who won multiple majors a year ago. Like he would have been even Justin Thomas, who's one of the more legendary Ryder Cup guys. And here's the other thing. Like, it had to be difficult. He's from the Northeast. Most of these golfers in the history of the sport are not from that area, right? Now, Cam Young is. And I think he had to be thinking for a couple years how cool it would have been. He even talked about it, how when he was at St. John's, which is definitely not a golf school, how they used to sneak on this course and the route they would play so they didn't get seen on the days it was closed. But I think not only did he make the right choice, but I think his choice was greatly influenced by his love of team sports. And in an individual game, right, in a game where it's just you and your caddy, and let's face it, I know these guys give caddies a lot of credit, and I think they play a huge role in their mental uh, outlook and ability to kind of slow things down when shit hits the fan. It's really on you. If you're 175 yards out and the wind's into you, and the pin is tucked over a bunker on a fast green that's hard, you can either hit that butter cut or you can't. Right? The caddy can't do it. Right? Where in football, it's like, well, I slipped and I missed the block, but Saquon juked the guy out and went 40 yards. Or, I didn't throw it to the open guy, but he made an incredible contested catch and then he broke a tackle and he scored. And I got the touchdown pass. Right. And my right tackle had an incredible block on Max Crosby. So much is out of your control as a player in these team sports, where in golf, it's all on you. I mean, it's completely all on you. And I think Keegan can get this unique perspective. And I'm actually really, really excited for as much as to watch the players, but just to watch Keegan, especially given Zach Johnson, who will go down as one of the biggest loser coaches / captains of all time. I mean, he's been getting into it with fans at these tournaments because he's constantly made fun of. Like that's a stink that he'll never shake. That's not something you get in the shower and you can wash off. We will forever remember Zach Johnson, who you can make fun of him all you want. Like he's kind of won some big tournaments. Google his resume. Won a couple majors. This one called the Masters, kind of important in the grand scheme of the sport. But when it comes to being a leader, no one takes him seriously. And I do think Keegan, the other part I think that I respect about Keegan Bradley, and listen, I can speak from my own experience. I remember when I first got into this business, like I left football and I got into radio. And I remember thinking like all that mattered was I could watch the games and break down the games. And the local radio, that's for me, it wasn't just football. It was I got to be able to talk about baseball. I got to be able to talk about basketball. I'm never going to miss a dribble or never going to miss a pitch. And I realized the other station, which was way bigger and a famous station, KNBR, even though radio in that area is dead now. But for a long time, they were like the West Coast version of WFAN in New York. You turn on them and their big hosts were kind of screw around guys. They were entertainers. It wasn't breaking down every inning or every dribble. It was fun. And I realized after several years, and honestly, it took getting fired in radio, though, well, what I got fired for. But regardless of like, this is entertainment. This isn't what I know and what I see every single. If you're just breaking down every single game, you're going to put people to sleep. Like you got to be bring something else to the table and be open. Like have a personality. Stop fucking being so worried about like, God, he should not have stolen third in the 6th inning of game 102. Like nobody cares. I promise you. And it's one thing I learned that like Keegan talked about early in his career, all he was focused on was himself and survival, and everyone else was an enemy. And I can relate a little bit to that. I kind of had that mindset at times when I first got into the talking space. It was just so tunnel vision, and you just don't think or care or worry about another soul. And then as you age and you get perspective, in his case, married, kids, you kind of realize like there's got to be more to life than this. Even look at Tiger Woods. Early in his career, it felt like he hated everybody and wanted to ruin their lives. And he did. And he won constantly. And they got nothing. He took all the money, he took all the fame, and he took all the trophies. And the one thing I thought was really cool, and it's sad that he had that, the car incident, which derailed his career because he was playing really well. The version of like 2018 and 19 Tiger and what he was going to become before hurting his ankle was kind of a more balanced guy. Like Justin Thomas had become a good family friend. He had just lightened up a little bit. And I would have to imagine children do that to you. Now, I already had somewhat of that, and I'm not comparing myself to them in terms of successful, but just in terms of the mindset and the headspace, I do think as you get older, you realize, like, I think the simple statement, there's just more to life than this. I don't need to be this consumed with myself. And I think it's easy to do in any profession. It could be sales, it could be golf, it could be what I do now, where it's just really like a lot is determined by you, right? In some of your guys' occupations, like you're very dependent on teams and other people, and I am too as a podcast. But like ultimately, I could just be tunnel vision and it can work. Like as a golfer, you can just be tunnel vision, not have any friends, and it can work. But I think clearly, and even Keegan says he has being around these guys and spending more time with them, realize like you can have good relationships and still be a really good player. And Keegan's made a ton of money the last couple of years and seems like a different guy. And I know a lot of people used to not like him, on and off the course. People thought he was a dick. But I think the more and more I hear him talk and kind of you find out his story, like this guy shouldn't have been a high level PGA golfer coming from the Northeast, coming from, his situation and playing at St. John's. And he just kind of willed himself and he got himself into a position where he kind of got enlightened and he's changed and easy guy to root for. Can I tell you about my friends at Mando? Here's the thing. Summer is upon us. Where I live, I think it's 110 degrees today, and I'm a sweater, and I don't like smelling. So the key with Mando and their deodorant, it has sweat control. So not only does it block the odor all day, but it controls my sweat. I don't like to just be soaked if I'm just walking outside to grab something out of my car. And here's the thing. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. So all the products, they're baking soda free, and you can choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, Clover Woods, Mount Fuji is the one I use, or just the go-to pro sport. Want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant formula right now? You can find them in Walmart, Target, and other retailers around the country. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid starter deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like Mini Mando body wash or deodorant wipes, love those, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use the code JOHN, that's JOHN, at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. shopmando.com. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered. Protect your pits, baby. Smell great doing it. And last but not least, I think the star of this weekend, at least the going attraction, is Bryson DeChambeau. Right? Scottie's the best player. Rory's as famous as any golfer of his generation. Obviously Rahm and Fleetwood and these guys are high-level guys. Sanders won majors. Justin Thomas, legendary. If you're walking through those gates, as I will be on Friday, like you want to get your eyes on Bryson DeChambeau. And I like Brandel Chamblee a lot. Like I admire and respect the shit out of his work on television. How knowledgeable he is, how willing he is to say things and piss people off. Like I think he's great at television. I think he's elite at his job. So many people on television now, and it's the sport I watch so much of in football, these people say nothing. It's like, you're not a broadcaster. You're just regurgitating safe takes, safe thoughts. You're so afraid to offend anybody. And we're talking about football. Like, it's okay to be like, yeah, that was a terrible call. And it's such a small percentage of people that will say anything to ruffle any feathers. And Brandel's kind of made a living of it. I think sometimes you become so emotional about a take and a thought that it's hard to pivot. And Brandel was by far the most outspoken guy about LIV and hated it, and obviously has taken a moral stance about everything that goes on in Saudi Arabia, where Tom Brady just got $75 million. Kyle Shanahan is going over to coach the team. McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, all these guys are also playing in the event, making millions of dollars. You know what I haven't seen one person say? A fucking peep about any of their moralities. No one cares. But Mickelson, DJ, Bryson, Brooks, they basically walk so these guys could run, in this situation. Tom Brady's getting $75 million to be an all-time quarterback for a day. Think about that. And no one cares. Yet they gave some guys some money to play golf and everyone freaked. But Brandel was the loudest guy. And he wasn't alone, but I would say consistently no one hasn't pivoted and stayed stronger to their beliefs than him. And he hates Bryson DeChambeau. Like, he despises Bryson. And I don't know Brandel personally besides talking to him a couple times at the gym, but like, it's not even arguable. A couple years ago when it was Bryson versus Rory in that US Open, he couldn't even hide his disdain for the guy. Obviously, a large part is LIV, but I think like everything he represents, he made some comments the other day on Golf Channel that went pretty viral about him being a basically like a carnival barker and just a circus show, a circus animal, and that his YouTube channel, which is extremely successful. And I can't tell you how many people I talk to that I would not call golf fans that bring up Bryson DeChambeau and his YouTube channel. I have known advertisers who have done deals with him. He is crushing it. Like the business model of that thing, it's not made up. And Brandel comes out and says it's basically all bots watching. Like I promise you, it's not. But here's the thing. These guys that went to LIV, Rahm and Hatton, it feels like there's no weirdness at all. It's like, come on, we want you on the team. These guys are all taking pictures. And it feels like, well, is there anything weirdness with Bryson? No, it's actually just Brandel being weird about it, because I saw some quotes that I thought were like, damn. Here is Scottie Scheffler on Bryson. I was telling Keegan, I feel like Bryson could be like the difference for us in a strange way from the standpoint of feeding him into these fans, the style of golf he plays. He's been great in the team room. Here is JJ Spawn. I think what people don't realize, he's made a huge effort being part of this team, flying to team dinners, showing up weeks that he's playing on LIV to where we are on the PGA Tour just to be part of the team. Given his personality and the brand, he's great with the fans. I think that's going to be a huge attribute to this team this week. Here's Xander. I actually read Xander's quote, but Scottie ended with this. He brings a lot of energy, and the people love him. I'm excited to unleash him this week. That's Scottie Scheffler, who's on the team, not the captain. I'm excited to unleash him. Having Bryson there, this place, there is no doubt in my mind. I think they tee off really early on Friday morning. I think it's like 7 or 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I don't know if your boy is going to be at the first tee at that early, but I would bet pretty big money that the guy that hits our first shot is Bryson DeChambeau. I would be stunned. You hear these guys talk, clearly they have no issue with him. And you know why? And I think where Brandel missed the point, I would agree that he would be a sideshow if he was not a good player. But he wouldn't be here if he wasn't a good player. But the reason he's here is because for the last 2 years, he's won the one major. He easily could have won 2 others. He has been a dominant major player, multiple top 5 finishes, I think a 6th, a 10th. I mean, and some of those, like he was in the lead and kind of blew up to finish 6th and 10th. I mean, a couple years ago, he was leading the Masters after a couple rounds. Like this isn't, he's an elite player. And the way that he gets into it with the fans, like there is a huge value there. And Arnold Palmer had it. Phil has it. And you could call it, no one called Arnold fake. People have called Phil fake. And I think some people think Bryson's a little fake. Whether they are or not, that is fun. And at the end of the day, this is all supposed to be fun. And I think a lot of these guys, their serious nature, it's hard for them to fake that. And they don't do a very good job of it. And ever since he's leaned into it, obviously with the YouTube, which has created a brand for him that did not exist before, he's become the most likable golfer in the sense of casual people want to watch him play. And that is something, a sport that is golf, that is not football, right? Casual people watch college football. Like a casual football fan that didn't go to the SEC, that doesn't care about Alabama and Georgia, will watch that game on Saturday night. I scheduled my flight to make it back to Arizona so I could have some time, work out, go on a walk or whatever before the afternoon games, right? But I'm not normal. But the power of any good sport and any good business model around that sport is casual people pay attention. And it's what Tiger Woods did better than anyone. He brought baseball fans, basketball fans, tennis fans, football fans that didn't give a shit about golf to watch. I love Scottie Scheffler. He is, in a weird way, he feels underrated how good he is. Like, Rory's an all-time great player, and right now there's a large gap between the two guys. Like, Rahm and Rory, these are legendary European players, and Scottie's in a different universe than them right now. That's how good he is. but he doesn't bring to the table what Bryson does. And in an event like this, in a made for television, this is an exhibition, which if I had my druthers, I don't think I would put you against the NFL. I think it's pretty easy fix. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Now you're going up against college football still, but I think to go Friday, Saturday and have the singles matches go up against NFL Sunday is just always and will always be a losing proposition, especially, maybe it made a little more sense in the 90s when there was less on television. I just think in this modern day world we live in when it comes to fans, not a great idea. So if I could change one thing, golf already starts on Thursday. So just go Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But regardless, I think Brandel, it's going to be hard for him. Like, Bryson's not going away. This is a major figure in the sport who really gives a shit about golf. So his game is going to be, as long as he's healthy, at a really high level for the foreseeable future. Like, this is not some flash in the pan. Like, this guy's got a runway, and picking this lane of going against this guy, I'd be like, you know what? Just don't really see it with Josh Allen. Like, if that's going to be... Listen, I have some bold takes when it comes to coaches and players, but I don't make a living off... Like, didn't love Lamar Jackson early, pivoted quick on that one, right? I didn't like some of these guys. Like, I'll pivot fast, right? Once you realize this guy's going to be good. Like, there's no point. Like, I'm just wrong. And it's okay to be wrong. But I think this is the dumb hill to die on. So, like I said... I think the only value in gambling on this, I couldn't gamble against America. Too many, I've had multiple grandpas fought in World War II. I helped defeat the freaking Nazis. My dad's brother died in Vietnam. America has provided literally everything. I love this country. I think about my love for this country on a daily basis. And there's nothing more that I love are sporting events wrapped in patriotism. And this event, which is basically patriotism meets capitalism meets golf, like three of my favorite things. I can't wait. But I like their team more than ours. Now, clearly home field matters. The crowds are going to be pretty crazy, though. I from what I've heard, I don't think these are cheap tickets. So I don't know if this is like going to watch the A's versus the Tampa Bay Rays. But I'm excited to watch the crowd. I'm excited to feel just the fervor on the grounds on Friday and go America. Though, again, when you gamble, you got to take the emotion out of it. I think getting the Euros at plus 150 is pretty good value.